Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome back to an episode of the Hand of the Day.
Hand of the Day.
This one comes to you from the EPT Barcelona, the event going on right now. But first, a quick housekeeping update. This is my last day here in Orange County in the beautiful Southern California. I'm going to be heading to New York City, and I'm planning on hosting a meetup. I want to get to know a lot of you guys, and I've had a lot of requests for people to meet up and connect in the Big Apple. So if you're going to be in town, simply click the link below, enter your email, and I'll shoot you out an email when I have a date, time, and location. Even if you're watching this video late and you happen to miss the meetup, still enter details below. I'm in New York City very often, and I will keep your info on file for future meetups. All right, without further ado, let's get into the hand here. Picking this one up, the hand before the dinner break. Let's check out the action.
Dwan and Sergei Rychak, so it was an under-the-gun raise to 35,000 with the King-Jack of Hearts, called by Hydorn in the big blind with 4-3. Top pair against an open-ended straight draw and a backdoor flush draw, and a continuation bet of 30,000 into 94,000.
Here we have a pretty standard c-bet from Rychak on this flop. He raised under the gun, the strongest position, and faced a defend from the big blind, the weakest position. On a board like Jack 6-5, the under the gun raiser is going to want to bet this flop pretty much always. If he has air, like ace-queen, ace-king, king-queen, queen-10, he's going to want to bet with those hands. And if he has a made hand, like a jack or an overpair or better, or a flush draw, he's going to want to bet with those hands too. Now, because Rychak is going to be betting this flop very, very often, and he has what's called a range advantage, meaning that the types of hands he can have are stronger overall than the types of hands the big blind can have, he's going to want to bet this flop very often. Whenever you're betting often, it's typical to choose a smaller bet sizing because this allows you to bet with more hands. For more on bet sizing strategy, check out the membership at Conscious Poker, where I have detailed videos on this very subject, and you can learn a lot more about that in detail. Simply click the link below. But for now, keep that point in mind. When you're betting often, you're going to want to bet smaller. So he decides to bet 30,000 here, a third of the pot, a bet size I really, really like. Over to Hydorn here in the big blind, who can really go either way. You definitely can't fold here when you're getting 4-1. You obviously are going to call and realize your equity at the very least. Hope to hit a straight draw. Maybe have the turn go check, check, and bluff the river. That's a fine line to take. Or you could opt for a raise here. I think if you look at a lot of what the game theory is saying today, if facing these small bet sizes, you are going to want to raise more often, especially with hands that have no showdown equity, like 4 high. It's also a good hand to raise because if you're called, you can bluff some turns, namely like clubs, and if you pick up a diamond, you could conceivably bet that turn when you pick up more equity. Of course, you could also make your hand if you complete your open-ended straight draw. Let's take a look and see what he does.
130? Well, okay, I should have stopped when I was good.
That was a classic. Why couldn't the break have hit?
Yeah.
Just 2 minutes earlier. Yeah, the check raised to 130,000.
Of course, if the 2 of hearts comes to something now, it's going to be very difficult.
Hydorn here goes for the check raise, 130,000. I like this size. Bigger size makes a lot of sense here. You don't want to make it so easy for your opponent to float. You have 4 high. You want him to fold. A big sizing accomplishes that. Over to Rychak now, who could really go either way. Clearly, folding is out of the question, especially facing a raise from the big blind, who's liable to have a lot of different types of draws, some weak hands. But you could really go either way, and you really have to ask yourself, is it better to call and let him bluff the turn, or is it better to jam and deny equity from a hand like this one, that might just check fold a blank turn and he can realize his equity for free. I know people aren't going to like this, but I think with a hand like King Jack, it could really go either way. As long as you're not folding, I think continuing on this flop is fine. You could make a case for calling here and then jam over any turn bet on a blank turn, potentially allow yourself to get away from your hand if a brutal card comes like the Ace of Clubs, but then you do risk potentially getting bluffed on a card like the Ace of Clubs. So another case is jamming here, which I like to deny equity, potentially get called by worse, and just not allow yourself to get outplayed. I think here calling is a little bit more common in these spots, especially in tournament poker, but I really think it could go either way. Ryjak opts to call, and let's take a turn. The turn comes down to Queen of Hearts, and here Hydorn really has a tough decision. He can't really bet like small here. If he bets like 200k and then Ryjak jams, he's kind of committed. He has a little bit more than a pot-sized bet left, effective. I mean, he has more than that, but the effective stacks are 450k. The pot is 350. So if he bets this turn here, he's pretty much committed, right? I mean, he's either going to jam or check. I mean, betting 250 and then calling it off doesn't really make much sense to me. So it's kind of a tough spot. He's like, if he decides to jam or make a big bet and commit himself, he's kind of doing that blind. Like, is he up against an overpair? Is he up against a draw that's going to fold? He doesn't really know. The tough thing about Ryjak calling here is he's going to do that with a balanced range. And so if you're Hydorn, you just don't really know where you're at. That said, if you do play the hand this way and you have a 4 high, it is very tempting to jam. One reason that I might lean a little bit towards checking here is because if Ryjak had a flush draw, like let's say Ryjak has Queen 10 of clubs, he's never going to call the flop. He's going to jam and then realize his fold equity, hope that his opponent folds. So when he calls here, I think it's a little bit more likely he has a hand that's trapping, a hand like a jack or an overpair that's just trying to keep his opponent's bluffs in the pot. So I think as tough as it is, I'd like to see Hydorn pull back the reins here and opt for a check.
Hydorn checks.
Both players opt to check this turn, and I really like the play on both accounts. If you're Hydorn, it makes a lot of sense for the reasons we discussed, and Ryjak really doesn't gain anything by betting. Sure, he denies some equity from hands like this one, but those hands, those bluffs now from Hydorn have a lot less equity with one card to come. So I like the check here by Ryjak in position, allowing his opponent to potentially bluff the river and then go for the call. So by checking here, you win more money when your opponent is bluffing, and it's unlikely your opponent has a value hand that's worse than yours. It's not likely that Hydorn is check raising this flop with like Jack 9 and then checking the turn, and then you could like win money from a value bet here on the turn. It's a spot where you're either way behind, which is unlikely because he checked, or you're way ahead if he has a bluff. And the only way to win money from the bluffs is by checking. Ryjak checks, and let's take a river. The river comes a 4 of hearts, completing a potential straight draw, giving Hydorn bottom pair. Now Hydorn here is kind of in a tough spot because he might have showdown value. Like he could maybe beat some like ace kings, like maybe, and maybe he beats some flush draws now that he hit a pair, but it's still pretty unlikely he has the best hand. He loses to all the like 6x, 5x, jack x, 7s through 10s, as well as overpairs. So most of the time in this spot, he's not going to have the best hand. He also does have to construct a bluffing range here, and this is kind of a good card in the sense that 7-8 got there. That's one of the conceivable bluffs that he can have. There's 16 combos of that, so he could definitely have some 7-8s. He could have maybe even rivered some 2 pairs. If you think about it, 5-4 might want to bluff the flop here with a raise, 6-4. And he could also be slow playing the turn with a hand like Jack 6, Jack 5, 6-5, 6s or 5s. So it is possible he does have some strong hands that take this line, so I could see why he would want to bet here. Now, as for sizing, given that he's representing 2-pair sets, straights, or air, he should be betting very big. His value hands want to get max value, his bluffs want to apply max pressure, so if he does bet in this spot, I'd like to see an all-in jam.
Oh, wow. Hydorn bluffs the river and bluffs big. It's all into call for Rijak.
It's kind of a strange, I mean, from Rijak's point of view, it's kind of a strange line because
Hydorn goes for it and opts for the all-in jam. And look, if you're going to take an aggressive line with 4-3 on the flop, go for the check raise. Your opponent checks back the turn, giving you the rope. I don't blame you. You kind of got to go for it. You can't win this pot if you check. You know, there's 350K out there. It's a large portion of your stack. It's the hand before the dinner break. People maybe tend to overfold in these spots exploitatively. That's something to keep in mind. So I could see why he would go for the jam here. Over to Rijak here, who basically is up against the hands we talked about. He's up against a slow-played two-pair or set on the turn, which doesn't make that much sense. I think a lot of those hands are going to jam, either for fear that you're going to give a free card or for fear that a scare card is going to come and chase away your chance of winning. So I think we can eliminate those hands a decent amount of the time. Otherwise, he rivered some two-pair or he's got a straight. But I think if you weigh those situations against the bluffs that he can have, you're going to find quite a few bluffs. I mean, sure, all the clubs missed. I don't know how often he's bluffing with clubs, but if he had clubs like 9-10 of clubs, that missed. He could have also missed with a hand like 7-4, hand like 4-3, or maybe he's turning a random like 5-7 hand into a bluff as well. We just don't know exactly what his range is, but we know it's very wide defending from the big blind, and then it's potentially wide check raising this flop. He checked the turn, so all the bluffs are still in there. So if you use what's called my hand range funnel, which is the process of eliminating down your opponent's hands to get to the exact types of hands they're likely to have, you can see here there's definitely some bluffs in your opponent's range. For more on how to use the hand range funnel, simply click the link below. It's absolutely free. You can download it. It walks you through my process for doing this in a lot more detail than I could cover here in this video. So if I'm Rijak, I'm saying my opponent either has like a really strong hand or nothing. And anytime you're in this spot and you slow play your hand and you keep your opponent's bluffs in the pot, you kind of set the play up for this. You're against a wide range in the big blind. Probably going to call this one off here. If he has me beat, that sucks. I know it's easy because we can see the cards, so I could sound smart here analyzing this on YouTube when I could see the friggin' hole cards, but I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying to analyze the hand as if I couldn't and think about what is the best long-term play. If I'm Rijak here, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to probably use a time bank or two, but I think I'm going to put in the chips.
it's like that's one of the few hands that could have played it this way.
He folds the best hand, the bluff gets through.
Watch TV.
Watch TV.
Not going to tell him.
That is it, guys, for the hand of the day. Hit that like, that subscribe button. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. More awesome content is coming your way here at Conscious Poker. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in New York City. I'll see you guys in the next one.